Good morning. This is Robert Goodman here on Positive Stroke, Staying Clean. And today we want to talk about when you come into recovery and things start to go bad, the past starts to catch up with us. And we don't understand why these things are happening. I remember in my beginning of my recovery, I came from prison to the program of recovery, into a work program. And my wreckage of my past followed me just because I decided to get clean and sober at this particular time, that I wanted to change my behavior and do the things that I needed to do. That didn't change the fact of the damage that I've done to myself and others. Excuse me. So, thinking about when I'm making this right choice, I had so many things that I had to deal with, and I just couldn't understand. I'm doing the right thing, but why is everything hitting me all at once? Why can't I get a break? Well, in order to recover, I was taught that I must clean the wreckage of my past. And as I was in the program of recovery for a period of time, and the stories and the things that people have shared to me, because these were my associates and friends in recovery process, that I remember one gentleman telling me, we was good friends, and he said, Robert, he said, I messed up my life. I won't be able to drive. I owe $10,000 before I can get my license back. He said, I really messed myself up. He says, but I know this is going to take time. I know, but I'm going to get it done, because my goal is to be able to buy me a vehicle and drive myself around. So he was definitely on his grind. And in 2.5 years, he paid up the $10,000 fine, bought him a vehicle, and was driving around. And he gave me hope, because as things was developing in my recovery, and the things and the choices I had to deal with, and the wreckage of my past I had to deal with, I thought that I wasn't going to be able to overcome these situations and problems that I created for myself in my active addiction. One of them was I was on parole. I had 30 months on parole. And when I met my parole officer, she read me the Riot Act. And I said, I'm not going to make it, because she's going to send me back. But I did what was necessary. I followed the directions and the stipulations of my parole. I worked the program of recovery to the fullest extent that I could and did. I stayed focused on myself. I associated, but when the negativity or talking about the program or talking about people, I would disappear, because I didn't want to be involved in those type of conversations, because Robert had a lot to work on himself. And by focusing on what other people's mistakes are, was not getting my issues taken care of. So I worked. First, I worked for the program when I first got there. you have to pay your rent, and I worked for them. And inside 8 weeks, they was paying me, and I was doing good. I was respected where I worked at. I worked at the dump in Maricopa City in Arizona, and I worked on the platform, and it was very interesting work and very dirty work too. On top of that, but I enjoyed it because I was out to myself and kept busy, and they came and picked me up after my shift and brought me back to the house. And that Friday, they gave me my envelope with my pay, and I was 2 weeks ahead in my rent. And they said, Robert, you're not going out anymore. You're going to have to find your own job to pay your own way. So right away, I went to a temp agency. I got hired from the temp agency. I went out. I became the best worker. I went out every day. I always had work. I even had overtime many times. Whenever there was work, Robert was there. Robert learned how to be 2 and 3 weeks ahead in his rent. Robert learned how to save money. Robert soaked up all the recovery that he could possibly receive. Followed the rules and regulations of my parole officer. And when negative things happen, I would always say to myself, when something bad happened to me or negative happened to me or things didn't work out in Robert's way, I would say, if I was not addicted to cocaine, if I didn't do what I did, I wouldn't be in the situation that I am in today. So I have no one to blame but myself because I put myself here. So that means, Robert, you have to deal with the good and the bad that come with this situation. And I started to live by this rule. And it made my recovery easy to deal with, to face, and to move forward. And as I took this information and this type of feeling with me during my entire recovery process, and even into today, I realized that I was doing a lot of work on self. Because when I say I put myself in this situation by being addicted, then I'm telling myself that it's going to be a process, Robert, for you to change your behavior to be better than you was yesterday. And my life got better. My life got better. I went from being serious all the time to being happy, to smiling. I began to have pride about myself. I began to feel good about myself because for the first time, I like who I was becoming and who I was. So the point I'm trying to make is that the damage we do to ourselves in our active addiction will carry into our recovery. We're going to have to face these issues. We're going to have to deal with these problems face to face. And I know it's going to be hard because we're looking at our own actions, what got us here in the first place, what got us here in the situation, and we keep working forward, backwards and backwards and backwards, and then forward, backwards and backwards and forward and backwards and backwards, and this is what we do. We clean the wreckage of our past, but we keep moving forward. We clean the past, but we keep moving forward. And our lives get better. My life got better. I remember I came from, well, actually, let me go back further. My birthday was coming up, and I was at TLC in Arizona at the Roosevelt House. And I talked to my brother. My brother was my play brother. He was in recovery. Yes, my play brother. He was in recovery, and I talked to him over the phone. And for my birthday, he sent me some clothes from California, designer clothes from California for my birthday. And he sent me 3 sets, one for formal and 2 for casual dress. And I was going to I was just coming back from church. And the gentleman that was running the office, I signed in, and he said to me, he says, "You think you must be special because I see the way you're dressing. You're not special." And I asked him, why did he say that? He said, because you're you're all dressed up and making yourself look bigger than what you are. And I'm like, that is not my intentions. I just have pride about the way I look. I've always had pride about the way I looked. But my addiction took that away from me because that became more important. And I realized that in the program of recovery, even people that are like me, everybody's not there for recovery, and everybody's not there to help you in recovery. That situation told me that Robert, you're here for yourself, because everybody's not here for recovery. And when I realized that, and I started to look at my recovery and my associations around me, I realized that the program that I was in was a revolving door, that people would come in and a lot of them would rest up and get weight on them and feel good about themselves. Some may save a little bit of money, and then they go back to doing what they normally do, getting high. Or there was some that came in the program and they would rest up for a couple of days and try to steal everything that wasn't nailed down and get caught and get kicked out. And then after a couple of days, they want to come back. Or there was some that had relationships that they left the program, tried to save their relationship in their manner. Some I seen was sneaking around, seeing their children when they had a court situation with the custody and all that, and they was breaking the rules because They felt that they was well, that they're doing everything that they need to be, that the court system is being too harsh on them, and they would break the rules. And when the relationship got bent, then their wives would tell the court system that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing and open a whole new can of worms for them. I see so many situations in the recovery home, but my recovery, I stayed focused on me. All these things that was going on around me, I stayed focused on Robert, because I realized that if Robert don't get this, if Robert don't learn everything he needs to learn about recovery, if Robert doesn't benefit from his actions in recovery, then what's the point? And I realized that I had to do a whole lot of work on cleaning the wreckage of my past. Number one, I had to start from scratch, because when I left prison, I had a size 44 size pants and my waist was only 32. I had a string holding them up, two t-shirts and some toiletries when I walked into TLC. I had no money. A matter of fact, I didn't even have enough money for the bus, the Greyhound bus, to get to my final destination. I talked to the bus driver and told him exactly what I had. So he said, don't buy a ticket, just give it to him and get on the bus. That must have been a God thing, because that's how I got to TLC in Roosevelt in Phoenix, Arizona. And when I got there, they didn't even have a bed for me. But I had a letter saying that they accepted me, so I had to sleep on the floor for 2 days. So my introduction to recovery wasn't a pleasant one. It was the quite opposite. But all these things that happened to me, I realized that my addiction that caused me to have all these problems and issues was not going to be solved in a short period of time. I had 30 months of parole. They gave me some clothes to wear. They gave me a few things. I had to work. I had to slowly get a wardrobe. So I had things. I was very economical. I shopped at Family Dollar and Walmart. See, the point I'm trying to make is that the damage we do in our active addiction will carry into our recovery, because there's a lot of damage that we did to ourselves that's going to take a lot of time to overcome. So don't think that just because you come into recovery, everything is going to be peaches and cream. It doesn't work that way. I started to understand just how much damage I'd done to myself by being in recovery and trying to transform myself from a person that's being in active addiction into recovery. I went through a lot because I had to deal with the wreckage of my past, what I created for myself. See, the first rule I had to do is accept that I was an addict. And the second thing, I had to accept that once I put that drug into my system, once I freebased me some cocaine, I get totally out of control. I have no control. All I want is more. All I want to do is do what I want to do and don't care about no one or nothing. And so I had to start from scratch. So I worked my way up. I worked from not having nothing to having something. I started to dress better. I started looking more neat, taking care of myself. I was looking healthy. I was saving my money. So as I moved into the program, I graduated and moved into a 2-bedroom spot. And next thing you know, it was wonderful. I had my own refrigerator, microwave. I had my TV, I had a sound system. I brought 2 bikes. I was doing okay. My temp job landed me a permanent job. I was doing okay. I was doing okay. But it took time. After 21 months, my parole officer was at TLC. And she said, Robert, I was looking for you. I forgot to call you. I just wanted to let you know that you've been off parole for the past month. I've been so busy. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you and let you know, but since I'm here, you are off parole. You've been a blessing to me. I didn't have to worry about you. You kept me apprised of your whole situation all the time. You made it so easy. I wish all my clients was like you. I appreciate you, and I don't want to see you again. She gave me a hug, and I felt good. I felt like walking on air, that the system wasn't watching Robert no more, that Robert finally got his freedom back. Yes, indeed. It was a good feeling. And when you think about it, it took a whole 21 months just to get to that point. And I still wasn't finished with the wreckage of my past. So what I'm trying to say is that in our active addiction, the problems that we create for ourselves will carry into the present and will take time to overcome and disappear from our lives by the work we put in. So don't get overwhelmed about what you have to do to clean the wreckage of your past. Don't get overwhelmed by the amount of time that you have to experience in working on self to overcome these situations in your recovery. Like my great grandmother used to say, it's easy getting in trouble, but it's hard as hell to get out of trouble. And she was so right. The damage that I did to myself meant that I had a mountain that I had to climb to get to the other side and live life on life's terms in recovery. So don't get overwhelmed about the challenges that you have to face in your recovery. Just remember, you want to keep it simple, one day at a time, one situation at a time, one problem at a time, and it will all get done. As so long as you work for it. And last but not least, say this before you go to bed. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I cannot change people, places, or things. Change the things that I can, which is me. Let me change me. Help me change me. But I must know the difference. I must understand what I can and cannot do in my recovery. I must understand what I've done to myself in my active addiction. I must understand the path that I must walk to live a life far beyond my dreams in recovery. I hope what I share makes you think that one thing is definitely possible, that you can get to the recovery, that you can live the life that you choose, but you have to work on yourself one day at a time, one situation at a time, overcome one problem at a time. Recovery is making yourself better. It's understanding yourself, understanding why you feel a certain way about a situation, why you act a certain way in a situation. And I'm here to tell you is that the more you understand yourself, the better your life gets. You have a great and wonderful day.